Hey everyone, I'm Joe Brady, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about using the Colorchecker Passport out in a landscape photography. I've got mine right here. I just got back from teaching a workshop out in Zion and Bryce National Parks, and a couple of the students there had questions about how to use this while out in the field. So, what better time to show how to use it than on location? So what we're going to do is head out to the location. We were in Bryce talking about the color checker, and then after we get our shots, we'll come back in the studio, we'll take a look on the computer, and we'll see how to put this to use. Now we're going to be using Lightroom, but the process is exactly the same with Adobe Camera Raw. So let's head out to Utah and to Bryce National Park. Alright guys, so what we've got here is the Colorchecker Passport. And you know, you guys have heard me talk about a lot of gear over the years, but I think this is the best 90-something bucks you can spend. 99 bucks retail. It will save you so much time when you're doing your editing in software. It really helps. It's got 3 targets. This is the important one. This is the Colorchecker target. This is what allows you to create custom camera profiles wherever you go. And what is a camera profile? Well, you know about white balance. White balance sets your neutral. It tells the camera what gray is. But what a camera profile does is it tells it where all the other colors go. If you look on the target, you've got red, green, blue, CMYK. All your cameras shoot colored differently. We've got all kinds of different cameras here. I've got my Sony, I see a Nikon, I see a couple of Canons. If you all took the same picture with the same color settings, they'd look different. You guys remember film? It's the same kind of thing. Each camera has its own bias because there's no standard. What these patches do is they provide you a standard. So if you each create a profile for your cameras and create a profile from this and put it in the software, when you put your images next to each other, all of a sudden the colors are going to match. They're going to have the same response because they're working off of the same set of standards. In order to take advantage of the Colorchecker's profile, you need to shoot in RAW because only a RAW file can have a profile applied to it. The reason for that is because none of the information has been built into the file yet. A JPEG, your color temperature, everything is built into the file. On a RAW file, that's still yet to be determined. So that allows us to go in and take advantage of that. Also, you've got neutral references here. If you want to have a bigger one, you can shoot this card, and this will give you a white balance. And they work together. It's white balance plus profile, and you'll see that in software. You have to do them both at the same time. So all we're going to do is we're going to take a picture of this. I'm going to take one in the shade and one in the sun. Why? Because what a profile does is it corrects for changes in the spectrum of the light. So when we're in shade or we have this color reflecting up, it's going to be a slightly different set of colors. It's cooler in the shade. There's less red, so this will fix that. When we go out in the sun, there's going to be a bigger red component to it, so it will correct for that as well. And the bottom line is that under any lighting conditions, under any kind of spectrum of light, this is going to give you consistent color. So say, for example, you're wearing a blue shirt. It's going to look different in the shade versus in the sun. With this, it will not. It will match. It'll be exactly the same color wherever you go. And that's the beauty of having a custom profile. And remember, it works together with the white balance. The white balance tells you what neutral is. Think of it as your starting point. White balance tells you this is what should be gray. This is what should be neutral. Then the custom profile tells you, okay, how do I get to red, green, and blue from there? And you're going to see a dramatic change in some colors, and other colors won't change that much. Beiges and greens don't move quite as much, but blues, these kind of purpley colors, some of the yellows will change a lot when you create the profile, and you're going to get all your color to snap in place. So if anybody hasn't shot one yet, let's get one in the shade and in the sun, and we can create a custom profile for your camera when we're in the software. So let's put it to work. So now that we're back in the studio, let's put our Colorchecker Passport to work. Now here I am just hand holding it out in front of me. This was taken with a Sony A7R, and I can see that though that seems to be Zion National Park in the background. So I'm going to create the profile here in Lightroom. Now this process using the standalone app is almost identical, and that's what you would use if you're not a Lightroom user and you're using Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Camera Raw. However, you should know that if you create a profile in Lightroom, Photoshop sees it, Adobe Camera Raw sees it, and vice versa. So simply go to File, Export with Preset, and Colorchecker Passport. This will show up once you've installed the Colorchecker Passport software. Give it a name. This is Zion. I'll call it Zion National Park. I'll call it A7R Daylight, just so I can keep track of what the conditions were and the location was. Click on Save, and you see the software in the upper left-hand corner you can see the software in the upper left-hand corner telling you it's processing the profile. When this is done, you'll get a little message on the screen that says Lightroom needs to be restarted to be able to use the profile. So we'll just wait for that to happen. All right, so here's our message that the profile has been generated successfully, and we need to restart Lightroom to make it available. So I'm going to go ahead and quit Lightroom and then restart it. All right, so here's our original shot of the passport. Let's zoom in so we just see the Colorchecker Passport target itself. And I see I've got a little shadow here that did not hit the target. That is good. And notice that I did not have to white balance before we did the profile creation. That's because the software behind the scenes will do that for you. Now, I can click on the white balance picker right here and pick one of these. White is good, or the next one in. And let's take a look and see the difference before and after the profile. Now, the default in both Adobe Camera Raw and Lightroom is called the Adobe Standard. However, we just created one specifically for here, and here it is, Zion National Park A7R Daylight. What I'd like you to do is take a close look, particularly at these blue patches, these kind of purple, plum, pink patches, and the oranges, and watch what happens when we choose our new profile. And you can see it was kind of a dramatic shift in some of these colors. Pretty much this kind of pyramid right here. Let me turn that off again so you can see it again. Again, here's the standard that you're getting. And with our custom profile, all those colors snap into place. Now, even if you hold a color checker in front of you, you can see that's really what those blues look like. So let's see what effect this has on an image. So here's an early morning shot. This is actually taken in Bryce, just down the road from Zion. Same kind of sky, same kind of lighting conditions. Let's go ahead and choose our Colorchecker Passport file. And then I'm going to also choose the file of Bryce. And I'm going to tell it to synchronize. And I want the white balance, the process version, and the calibration to match. Click on Synchronize. And then I can go back to here. So here's the shot before the profile's been applied. Let's go ahead and reapply that profile. And again, white balance, process version, calibration. We're not going to worry about cropping. And take a look at it afterwards. And it's a pretty dramatic difference. In fact, I'll make a copy here so we can see the two of them next to each other. When I reset, here's the original. And there's before on the left and after on the right. And all we need to do now is just adjust our shadows, our clarity, and any saturations adjustments you want to make, and it's going to be a dramatic difference. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll take our candidate, go back in the develop mode. And I have sort of a set of basic standards that I will do. In a landscape like this, I'll boost the clarity. Add a little bit of vibrance, which will add a little more depth to the blues, a little more oversaturation, and open up the shadows a bit. And then lastly, let me go ahead and crop it so that it's straight. So I'm going to pick something in the horizon or off in the distance that looks vertical. And in fact, I'm going to crop it in a little more to make the composition a little better. Take a little sky out. And there we go, a much better photograph than what we started with just a few minutes ago, which was this. That's how easy it is to put the Colorchecker Passport into action. Let me show you another example. This is in Snow Canyon State Park. And here's my before and after. Now, if you take a look at the sky off in the distance, you can see kind of that the sky has gone a little bit too blue. By adding the profile, you can see it's neutralized that out, and now I have a much more natural looking image. Again, you'll do your further edits. I probably darken the foreground a little bit. In fact, let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'll just add a graduated filter here, and I'm going to darken the foreground just a little bit to kind of send your eye a little bit better off to that distant peak. And much better. So there's our finished image. So I hope you can see how fast the Colorchecker Passport makes color editing happen. All your colors snap into place, all your neutrals snap into place, and once you do an edit on one image, you can apply it to all the images shot in that location, do that synchronize, and you're done. I hope you've seen how powerful and easy to use the Colorchecker Passport from X-Rite is. I don't go anywhere without having one of these with me. It saves me so much time during the editing process, and I get all my colors just to snap into place. So stop wasting time, put a color checker in your camera bag, and your editing's going to be a lot faster. There's a lot more to it, but that was just a quick overview of how to use one out in the landscape. See you again soon. Bye-bye.